Hey guys, anybody here yet? We're just over here just playing some air guitar.
Yeah. We're trying,
So this is gonna be an all rock and roll podcast.
we're trying something new here. The
Yeah.
last one we thought went okay, but we're trying something new now.
Everything's rock and roll now. Like for instance, how will this still be a rock and roll country with Trump gone? This is what I worry about at night.
Good question.
Because I think it's a lot less rock and roll feeling lately.
It definitely seems
Yeah.
a little bit, what's the word?
Joe Biden is like Perry Como to Trump's Elvis.
Like the feeling's gone. Like, when,
Yeah.
when you play music and you got that guy that's just perfectly on time, he sounds like a robot.
Yeah.
You're like, nah, I'm not feeling
Yeah, that's like, dude.
That's Joe Biden.
Yeah.
That's Joe Biden.
He's got to go work for Pat Boone. whereas Trump is Little Richard. You never know what's going to happen on stage
Yeah.
with him. Have you guys felt that same thing? I think we have the super chats on. We're gonna have to. Oh, I was gonna bring a pad of paper because if you guys ask a super chat, which we're not suggesting you do, but if you do, I guess it only stays up for a minute or something.
No
like
idea.
that.
I got no
I think
idea.
it has to do like if you spent $1,000, it'd basically be there for the whole stream.
Forever. It'll be there until next year.
But knowing you cheap shit motherfuckers, it's gonna be.
Wow. Sorry, Dave. Slow your roll. What's going on here?
No, I mean I think the minimum is like $1 or $1.99.
I don't
something
know.
Like that.
I would say
And that's
just
well, we're gonna learn all
if you
this
guys
stuff
do
now.
it, we'll do it. We basically know less or almost less than we did last time. We're trying it with a different software now so we can show a couple pictures here and
Yeah.
there, but we'll see how it goes.
We're going through OBS.
Look at this.
Now.
Look at this guy.
What's that?
That looks like a super chat to me.
Looks like a super chat. All right. So
And-
is there a question with it?
I don't know how this works.
We should be seeing a question.
Yeah, this is you guys
So,
came in too soon with the super chat.
All we're seeing is a big banner that says super chat, but it's very appreciated.
appreciative.
Appreciatized. I've
Wow,
appreciatized
you
it
guys
greatly.
are great. Let's see, not receiving enough to maintain smooth streaming as such. Open
right.
widget. Okay, so I have to close. What I have to close this? I don't know.
Maybe
what's
you have to
going on.
click on the one up top to see what the question is. I'm not sure. See the little thing where it says up top? You get those little bubbles.
It just says that. And
Yeah.
It just says that.
All right.
Oh, here we go. This actually came with a.
This one came with a question
If I can get over.
or a statement.
Yeah, it's got to stay up longer for you guys, but someplace it disappears after a few minutes. Wow, you paid $5 to tell us that. We appreciate that. The other guys, it looks like you just donated some money, and if that's the case, wow.
Well, okay,
I mean,
yeah. We
that's-
we're not here to ask for donations. We just
I mean,
wanted that to be here in
mm.
case anybody had something important to tell us.
Man, much appreciated. We
Er-
really do appreciate that. But
You wanted me in the Did you want me in the picture more?
you can get it. You don't have to get in here. We don't want to ruin the picture. From Holland, love you both. My parents died in the Iraq War. Man, I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm actually wearing wooden shoes right now.
Wow.
Because I was as a gesture of love toward Holland.
Yeah.
For some reason in America, we have this feeling that you guys are over there either ice skating or
I've been to Holland.
wearing, well, not you, you don't count.
Oh,
You've
okay.
actually been somewhere. Or wearing wooden shoes, and that there's like windmills everywhere and fields of tulips. So I hope you have a more complex view of the United States than we do of Holland.
Well, like I said, I've been there several times.
Maybe I'm just talking for
And,
myself
yeah.
here.
In all honesty, man, and in all seriousness, I hate that you, JC Bridge, you lost your family in the Iraq War. That's just that breaks my heart. I mean,
This is
this
from
is from the
Holland?
super chat. The guy from Holland here. He said, Dave doesn't see this very well. His eyes are a little older than mine. But yeah, he loves us, and it's sad to see Americans don't do any research and vote. I lost my family in the Iraq War. You guys are great. Trump made mistakes, but was the best.
I think he's the most anti-war president that I've seen in my lifetime. And that certainly had nothing to do with the fact that everybody that was so frightened of him said, "Oh, he's definitely getting us in at least one world
Right.
war,
Well, they told us he was gonna start a nuclear war.
a nuclear war."
That's what it was. It was gonna be.
Yeah,
It wasn't gonna get us into a conflict. It was gonna destroy the entire world with nuclear weapons,
right.
and we're all gonna die. We're all gonna be wearing gas
He
masks,
may have
and
destroyed the world, but he didn't need nukes to do it.
yeah.
That's the thing. I think give the guy a little credit.
I mean, seriously.
Sorry, I'm in a bit of a mood today, guys. Feeling a little goofy.
Thanks, Tom. Just Tom, and
Thank you, Tom.
thank you, Miriam, and thank you,
So,
Namondo.
what
But
are you guys feeling about the impeachment? It apparently a vote could come in kind of any time now, and I don't know. It seems to me like Trump's defense kind of bitch slapped the hell out of the Democrats with that thing they did yesterday with all the videos and things like
I
that.
mean, I think what they basically did was
Embarrass everybody there.
prove that Democrats are guilty of everything they accuse Trump of.
Ex-
They went through it all,
exactly. You
and
know,
they're not, and they didn't prove Trump was guilty of it. That's
yeah.
the thing.
They what they should do whenever you deal with the Democrats is just hand out little hand mirrors and say, "Okay, please hold the hand mirror up. See, do you see yourself in the mirror there? Okay, now
Right.
point a finger at you.
They're the king of
'Cause
projection, no doubt about it.
this is what you guys are all
They
about."
are the worst at projection. Um, and yeah, I got to watch a little bit of it. I started working the graveyard shift at my job, and so I've been up all night. But when I came in yesterday, I got to watch a little bit of it, and I really wasn't. I was just gonna look at some highlights, but then my wife had turned on the TV, and started watching. I heard it. And I was like, "Huh, well, that's good. That's good." Then they said, "Oh, what about this deceptive edit?" And then what about this? And oh, everybody said the word fight, so that's not different. And I was just like, "Whoa!" I messaged him and said, "Hey, Trump's team's kind of killing
They're
it right
killing it.
now."
Yeah, and of course, I watched the whole thing from there, and I eventually got to the point where you were watching, but they're using this term, the big lie. See, I get because I subscribe to the Washington Post, New York Times, and the LA Times, and now the Wall Street Journal for, purposes of the channel. I get these daily emails coming from them, particularly from the New York Times, and it comes in every single day and it's nothing you would think it would be headlines. What it really is, it's a column by a guy named David Blankenship. I believe is the guy's name, the columnist, and he's a hard left columnist for the New York Times. So every day, if you subscribe to the Times online, you get an email from David Blankenship giving you the latest propaganda. Um, and so a couple days ago, it was, the big lie, right? They're like they're sending a signal out to the hive mind. This is now what we say,
Mhm.
the big lie, and then you hear everybody saying it.
Just repeated over and over again because that's how
Right.
they do their
Yeah.
politics.
Yesterday's one was Trump team responds with a combative defense. Like they're so
Combative.
combative. All we're trying to do is impeach him and
Right,
besmirch him down through the ages and the history books. But how combative of them to fight back. I
right.
mean, really.
I'll say thanks, Red Basco, if that's how you say your name. Um,
Thank you, Red.
what I find interesting is that back when they were talking about impeachment at the beginning of Russian collusion and all that, they told us that they had to impeach him so that they could get him out of office, so they could charge him with all those crimes that he committed because he had committed all these crimes. They kept
Right.
telling us he was going to go to jail,
None of
right?
which they ever mentioned
Right.
really
But
after that.
now he's out of office. If he committed a crime, charge him with a crime and put him in jail like you told us you're going to. No, that's not what this is about because they know they
Right.
don't have a crime on him to charge him with anything.
They don't know what they're gonna do without him. They're jonesing for their fix.
Yeah.
They don't know how they're gonna go on. Everything that they've done in the last 4 years has been about Donald Trump. And the same is true of journalists, and the same is true, frankly, of our channel. We're like, I don't know, should we do kitty cats? You know?
Well, I think a friend of mine, he posted something today I thought was kind of clever about the situation. He said a lot of people are talking about buyer's remorse with Joe Biden, but is it really buyer's remorse, or is it everybody's finally catching their breath a little bit and going, "Oh my God, that's kind of over now," and they're not disappointed with Joe. They're just tuning out, and I think there's a lot of people tuning out right now.
I do, but to get back to my thing about the big lie, because Jason is so accurate about this, I'm still I always knew they did some projection, but until Jason started calling my attention to it a couple of years ago, since then it's like really the main thing that they do. And when they say the big lie, it made me think, okay, what's the big lie on their part? And it occurred to me that the big lie is that Donald Trump called white supremacists fine people.
Right.
So
Very fine people.
yeah, and so the lawyers did that. The lawyers and I was listening to Scott Adams this morning because the other day he had said if they're before the lawyers did it, he said if there's one thing they should do is set the record straight on that. And boy, did they do that
Yeah.
by actually showing the clip and then where that stops, showing the clip
Another
going
30
forward.
30 seconds or whatever till he gets to the point where he says,
Right,
and I'm not talking about neo-Nazis and white nationalists because they
right.
should be condemned totally. And I like that the lawyer actually said, for some of you guys, this is going to be the first time you've seen this.
Yes,
And it's
yes.
true.
And,
It's true.
I mean, you wonder about people, and both of us have friends who are liberals, and both of us have friends who
Sure.
believe this thing. And are we going to have any success? I'm going to get that clip in that context, so it shows the full context, and I'm going to email it to all my
Right.
to my whole email list and say, "Hey, I don't want to start any trouble here, but do you realize that this is sort of the whole basis of why you all have been so angry at Donald Trump?
Mm,
It's this." And if you look at this and you realize, "Wow, this was taken out of context," does that change your mind at all? Or are you gonna say, "Oh, no, that was just the context of the proof of what we already knew, so maybe that wasn't a perfect proof, but still we already knew it." Well, what
right.
did you already know?
That's right.
You know,
I had a
you
I,
didn't know it.
I had I played in a band with a guy we know played pedal steel. Good guy. He's passed away
I
now.
remember him.
He's such a good guy. He was a liberal. He was a kind and gentle man, and
He was a good guy.
he
I'm
was a
trying to
good
remember
guy.
his name.
Yeah, I don't want to bring it up,
Yeah,
but
not on our channel.
anyway,
Let him rest in peace.
the uh, the Patriot Act was signed by Barack Obama back then, and these guys had all told us about how bad the Patriot Act was, and I think a lot of our guys think, a lot of people on our side think it's bad too,
Mhm.
but the left had complained so hard about that. He was taking powers that he doesn't have, and so on. So I asked him one day at practice. I said, "Oh, so what do you think about Obama re-signing the Patriot Act back into, re-signing it?" He's like, "Oh, that's what Bush did," he said, and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, but now Obama could have let it go, but he didn't. He re-signed it." And he just like sat there and kind of looked down and he goes, "Hmm." And that was it.
Yeah,
That he couldn't comment on it. He couldn't go further. He just said, "Hmm." And then let's play some music, because
yeah. I
it
mean,
wasn't going to change
when
anything.
I do sit down, are there any super chats that we have not acknowledged yet? When I do have
Mr.
conversations.
Bowser and I think JC came back again. You're the best, man. And
Thank you, guys. Oh,
Nama
look, we got a question here.
wow. Been watching you two for a while now, several months, the whole time last year. I trust what you tell me, and I love that you guys care. It's not about the money. I give when I can, so it's all good. Do more live super chats. I'll be around. Just keep telling the people the truth. And I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Namondo. Thanks, man. We appreciate it. We're trying as hard as we can. We're trying. I don't know if you guys notice, but we correct ourselves when we make mistakes a lot of the times. We we've pulled down videos when we put something up, and then we end up someone says something, we go like, "Oh, I didn't realize. I must have missed that in my research. You know what? Let's pull that down." And then you guys, "Where did that go?
Oh,
Where
I
did that
know. Yeah,
go?"
I did one recently. I put it up, and then I felt like the statistics were weak, and I took it down. And I heard about that for a week, but
But it's better than
I wasn't 100% convinced at the end of it.
Mhm.
After I'd already put it up, I started having a nagging suspicion. Maybe there's something I'm missing here, and So I took it down just because I didn't want to be associated with with putting false information out there.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
I didn't want to put false information
Right.
out there. Being
And
associated with that or
and
not is
obviously
a minor thing.
we get a couple things wrong here and there. I've said I think I've called someone a senator when they were a
Yeah,
representative.
that's
I said things, and you guys catch us like, oh, and we try to write a correction on it if it doesn't change the whole video or the whole message
right.
that we're trying to say. But man, we thank you guys.
I took one down once because I got it wrong about a role that Oprah had played in The Color Purple. I don't
Oh,
even remember the
I
context,
remember
but
that
I
now.
got she played the wrong character, and
You called her by the different name.
I
Yeah,
was
you
so
like.
embarrassed by that I took the video
I
down.
remember that. That's funny.
So, I mean, we care,
But yeah, let's as
but
far as get
let's so I wanna move to this Scott Moorfield tweet
okay.
that was if you can pull that up, there was this and this is, kind of a where is that thing? Um, are you guys seeing it?
Yeah, it's up on the screen for them. You guys are seeing this tweet. This is our first time doing these kind of things, and we're gonna get better, I promise. As
So
far as sharing
basically,
things.
he brings us around and says if Trump had won instead of Biden, the riots that would have ensued would have made January 6th look like a Girl Scout cookie convention.
Absolutely.
Second point is anyone shot by police, like Ashley Babbitt, would have been a celebrated martyr. I know that that's true. Democrats would have defended it and called for more. That's exactly what they did do when buildings were burning down.
That's right. That's what they showed in the trial
They said, "What
that
do
they
you
did.
expect? Peaceful protests? That's hardly a protest. Protests are not peaceful.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. So, I mean, the rules are completely different for them, and that this is it kind of breaks my heart personally that we went through 4 years where nobody acted up. There was never any incident. I mean, black people went to Trump rallies, and there was never any stories about anyone getting run out of there, or somebody running up to him and saying you're not welcome here. Nothing like that. It was hugs and hello, glad to see you. And then at the very end, they managed to bait us into,
Yeah.
those among us who are likely to go someplace like that finally went.
Right. But it was such a small slice of the people who were there, such a tiny slice of the people who supported President Trump, and yeah, they're trying their best to smear everyone, whether you're a senator and you supported Trump like Ted Cruz or Josh Hawley, or whether you're a voter, like if you're willing to say you voted for Trump, it's like I said in my last piece I put up yesterday. No one's hiring Kid Rock to be their spokesman right now because he
Right.
said some nice things about Trump, and that's where we're at. Is
Well, that's like
they're going to screw everybody,
right. If Gina Carano had put up that tweet,
right?
did we do her yet?
No,
Well, this is a little off topic. Maybe we'll come to this in a minute.
not really. I
But
mean,
Gina Carano, who was in that, she was in The Mandalorian, I guess. I don't get that, but I've seen her in other movies. She's kind of an action figure type.
I think she was like a UFC fighter,
Yeah,
and
right.
then she came out and was an action figure
And so
actress.
they put this. Where is that? Let me see. Can you put that quote? There we go. We're smooth now, huh? This is professional stuff. So this is what she said, for which she was fired. Apparently, I mean, according to this article, this is the tweet that was the real one that got her fired from The Mandalorian. Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Then it goes into quotes here. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? If she had been on the other side, and I hate to do this, if they did it, we did it, but if she had been on the other side, if she was a well-known um, political liberal, they would have said, yes, they do hate us.
Hmm.
They are persecuting us. Look what they did yeah, look how they tried to take the election from us. They hate us.
Right.
They're rounding us up. They would have thought, yes, it's perfectly appropriate for us liberals to have felt somehow victimized by them, which of course we never did. The cancel culture happens pretty much entirely on the left,
That's right.
although there is now a certain element on the hard right that's attached itself to the hard right that really isn't there about principles at all.
Well, the thing about cancel culture is I did a video a while back in the Colin
Mhm.
Kaepernick, so couple 3 years ago. The thing about cancel culture and the right versus the left is the right conservatives, we don't have to do cancel culture, because if we don't like an actor or we don't like someone, we just won't go watch their movie. We
Right.
won't stop our neighbor from going watching their movie. We won't stop. I don't tell my one of my good friends, Alex, that hey, you shouldn't watch the NBA, you shouldn't watch the NFL. But maybe sometimes I don't watch some things because I go like, you know what? I don't want to see Black Lives Matter on the court or whatever it might be, right? We organically boycott. The reason the left have to be activists when they
They
boycott is
they
because they don't even watch the NFL.
right.
They don't even
Well,
watch the NBA. They don't watch the Laura Ingraham show when they're trying to get her off
and
the
they're
air.
collectivists. They
That's right.
it's not satisfying to them unless everybody does it. And this is when you tell any rich person, look, if you want to give extra money to the IRS, just send them a check. They'll take it.
Every
They'll
time.
take it. If you overpay the IRS and say, I should be, how many times have you seen that? I should be paying more. I've heard Barack Obama say that. People like me should be paying.
Well,
Go
he
ahead.
has enough now to do it.
But the thing is, it's not satisfying to them unless they say, I should be doing it. So let's make sure that everybody does it. If they can't be part of a collective effort, it didn't happen.
Mhm.
And I remember I was on some kind of thread, and this was when I was still identifying as a liberal, so this has got to be 8 years ago, or longer,
Or
9
longer.
years ago. And there was some kind of thing that Putin had done where he'd been sort of persecuting gay people. So what they decided to do was do a vodka boycott, and this was being ginned up
I remember
by a
this.
guy that wrote for the Advocate, and it was a whole big thing. Dan Savage, I believe, is his name, and he was pushing this boycott. And so they started out by let's boycott Stoli, or whatever it was. And it turns out, so I looked it up. I wonder where that is made. Is that Russian? It's not made in Russia.
It was like
It's
Estonia
yeah,
or something,
it's a
yeah.
completely different country. I don't recall
Finland,
which
I
one
don't
it was
know.
now. And so this friend of mine was doing a whole boycott Stoli thing because Dan Savage had told him to do so.
Mhm.
And I said, but wait a minute, it's not those people are don't A, they're not Russians. And B, even if they were Russians, these are just people who work in a vodka factory. Why do you want to put them out of business? The guy who drives the vodka truck, the distributor in your
Right.
neighborhood who gets it out to the bars. Why do you want to penalize people who had absolutely nothing to do with it? If you are mad at Putin, be mad at Putin,
Right.
and speak out and do whatever. But no, they want to do that. And he wrote back to me after like an hour's consideration. He said, well, you see, it's valid because it's a symbolic gesture. And that was the end of his
Right.
argument.
Right. So those
S
people are out of work over a symbolic
Over a
gesture
symbolic
that
gesture.
doesn't hurt the
Right.
target he's trying to hurt.
I wonder how many people he had to consult to come up with that killer argument, huh?
I know,
It's a
right?
symbolic gesture.
No, I think, like I said, I can't get away from the if they're gonna boycott Rush Limbaugh, which they've been boycotting him and trying to get him out for, 30 years now, these people have never listened to an episode of Rush Limbaugh. They just trying to attack the sponsors, do whatever they do. But like I said, I'm a sports fan. I didn't ask you guys to stop watching the NBA. That's not my job. But when I saw that Black Lives Matter on the court, I quit watching, and that's what we do because I don't care what my neighbor does. And like you said, you throw in the collectivist aspect of it, and off we go. Now, to get back to Carano, Gina Carano, she got hired. Have you heard that?
She got hired by
Ben
Ben
Shapiro
Shapiro to make
hired
a
her
he's
to
gonna
make
make
a
an action
movie.
movie.
Yeah, and so I guess I haven't seen Ben.
I
They produced another movie. I haven't seen that one yet, but good on her and good on him.
I'm really fascinated by that Shapiro's doing that. And the first person that's been saying this, I don't know if you guys ever listened to Bill Whittle at all. I've been a Bill Whittle fan for a long time. A lot of people think he's arrogant and he's a little over the top, but I think more than anybody else, he was when we decided to do this, I was kind of patterning what I did after what I saw Bill Whittle doing on his thing. Um, I forget what it's called now, Firewall, where
Firewall.
he was back in the day, he'd stand there and he'd
Firewall.
sort of be in a suit and he'd make these spoken essays. And so that's the way I gravitated to this sort of thing that I do. But he's been saying for a very long time, it's in the culture. Like I think it was that Andrew Breitbart said that politics is downstream from culture. It's in the culture where this is really happening, where these ideas are spread. And you look back, and I started looking back when I first started hearing him say these things, and I understood that it was true, but I realized I wonder how many old movies I loved were full of old messages. So I went back and I looked a couple of things, and you'd see that all the bad guys were like guys who owned businesses. They
Oh,
were all
wow.
just corrupt, or they were military guys. The guys come from the military and they're always trying to get ET to use them as a weapon. It's always this the military and big business were always portrayed as the bad guy.
Hmm.
And the scruffy little artists and misfits were always the heroic figures.
Yeah.
These are just the kinds of things that you see and you don't think about. And so when I was growing up way back before the left sort of took over all of media,
Right.
we had plenty of heroes who were just kind of like conservative values who were just oozing out of them, watch any John Wayne movie.
Yeah.
It's the strong silent type. He doesn't start a fight, but boy, if he needs to end one, you best watch your step,
Yeah. Well, they've already tried to cancel John Wayne, so
right?
you can't be that guy anymore. Um, back to the cancellation. You heard about? I mentioned it in my last piece. The New York Times writer, 45-year veteran, on a field trip last year, I guess, and someone wanted to discuss if something was racist or not. And he said the N word when he was asking whether they had used it in a rap song, or if they had used it like a rapper, or if they had used it like in a derogatory way, and that got him ousted. And worse than that, it wasn't. He didn't just get ousted.
Because he
He
was using it in an
right.
educational context.
He apologized for trying to defend using it in an educational way. He apologized and said, I tried to defend it and I shouldn't have defended it. And I mean, he said a word.
I
It
would love to be in that situation where I could just where because I've got nothing to cancel. I mean, I don't work for anybody. You don't work well,
well,
you
I
do, but
do, but
I don't work for anybody. I'm completely, I'm unaffiliated. I mean, if I was just famous enough and
right.
somebody would come after me,
But here's the thing, he lost his 45-year career basically at the New York Times. Now he can go and go on a
but he
news
still won't
media and say, and he won't
because he's hoping to get his career
because he
back.
just goes, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize how bad it was to repeat a word
They're
when asking a question about what somebody said. I'm so sorry."
it's so amazing. They're not afraid of us. They're afraid of each other, and it's always been this way. I mean, that was a light bulb that came on in my head 5 or 6 years ago. Oh, wait. They're not afraid of us. They're afraid of each other. So if they're caught not virtue signaling, it's like, uh-oh, something's not right here. You like right now, I'm in touch with some of my old folk music pals, and I'm like so I'm watching their live streams, right? Plus I'm trying to get the skills up to do that myself. And a really good dude in LA, his name's Dan. He's had a couple of big songs and he's a really good dude and means well, and I notice him he's covering a song by a dude named Tom Prasado Rao, which is called $20 Bill. And Tom Prasado Rao would not care because, you know, he's very proud of this. But now I've seen other people doing that in their live streams. They're all covering this $20 bill. What do you think it's about? $20 bill. Think about it. It's about
Oh, Andrew Jackson
no,
and
no.
oh
You know what
no,
it's about? it's about George Floyd because he was trying to pass a counterfeit $20 bill. So the song goes something like, some people die for honor, some people die for in war, or something like that. And then blah, 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 and blah, blah for a $20 bill, you know?
Ugh.
And so they're recasting that as if the police were punishing him for trying to pass a $20 bill. And so now all the people that, oh, wow, Tom's written this song, and they all start covering it. So it sweeps through the whole folk world. And now there's this false idea that he was being punished for trying to pass a $20 bill
Right.
as opposed to resisting arrest and all the other things that went down there.
Right, and the fact that he had a bunch of drugs in the system
Right,
and all the other stuff, he wasn't in good health, he had the
right.
coronavirus or
And
whatever.
and
That doesn't
right.
matter. That's
And passing a $20 bill is still passing a counterfeit bill.
still
But if it
illegal.
was but the fact that it was a small bill means small problem. But what it really is whenever they have a chance to signal their own virtue and somebody writes a song that's catchy enough, they all start covering it and it sweeps through the whole world. And that's the culture layer of this. So to see them putting Gina Carano in a movie to see and Bill Whittle is trying to do a thing that's a version of kind of a version of Star Wars, but goes back to the values because now Star Wars has apparently been taken over by a bunch of, all the heroes are
Well,
girls and
there's another star, the guy star in that movie, Mandalorian, how's it go?
Mandalorian.
Mandalorian, which I've never seen either, but now they're bringing up tweets that he posted comparing Trump to Nazis and so on. Like, he's allowed to talk about Nazis, right? Like, her tweet ultimately, I'm gonna put that back up here real quick so you guys can see it, but her tweet basically is true. It's true for sure,
Right.
right? But if we're going to talk about people, if the problem is that she was comparing the Holocaust to some little petty thing today, and that's just unfair to all
Well,
those people who
that's
died.
what they've been
They've
doing
been
all
doing that
along.
for forever, from the beginning of Trump's presidency. But any of us, we get caught saying the wrong thing or not following along or pushing a good idea, right? They'll figure out a way to tell us, like one guy said, told me the other day, like, what aboutism? I said something, I said, oh yeah, they're just as guilty, they're showing that the Democrats are just as guilty, and they're like, that's what aboutism.
Yeah,
And then it
and
said,
therefore you never.
scratch a what about her and you find a white supremacist, and it's like, oh wow,
I saw
what
that.
a jump.
I saw that on a thread that you were on the other day. It was that Dale one where you called you said something, and so I said I'm going to look at that thread, and I went over and I looked at it, and I noticed that a person that I know quite well, who's a very hard left folk singer, um, had in response to what comment that you made, she says, "What aboutism isn't
Yeah,
a defense," and it's like that's a phrase that they got, and this happened some years ago with slippery slope.
right.
You're not allowed to say if you're on the left, it's gone through the hive mind whirlywand, and everybody has the idea stuck to them now that slippery slope arguments are invalid.
Right.
So they just say, "Oh, that's a slippery slope argument."
Right.
But this is a slippery slope argument. She's saying this is how it happens. This is how the scapegoating happens.
Right.
And for those of us who believe in slippery slopes, and who wouldn't? I mean, we now have sports being dominated by biological males. That's a slippery slope standing right out there. Okay, this started with way back saying, okay, it's possible that a woman can somehow be a male trapped inside a female body. Okay, and then she wants to be a trans man, whatever. It's possible that that's a real thing. Okay, I'm open-minded to that somehow happening. But now, in just 10 years, we've gone to the place where the women's sports that the left fought so hard to support
Like,
with Title IX and everything, they thought
right.
it's so important to have women's sports. I always thought, why? Who
Right.
wants to watch it?
Well,
But they got it, and now they are destroying it with a slippery slope.
a lot of
It's
feminists
right.
are coming out
it's
trying to fight it now.
And they're getting
And
canceled.
they're gonna get canceled too. Like, when I was in college, back in the late '90s, I played baseball, And our college had a football team, and so because we had a football team, we had, I don't know how many people on a football team, 80 people or whatever. Well, Title 9 or whatever it was came out. It might have been Title 22. I think there was another one, but we had to give there had to be as many female athletes as male athletes. So then we had a volleyball team, we had a girls soccer team, we had the track, and they just kept adding on until it matched to make
Right.
up for that football, those 80
And
people that
that's
play
the money
football.
then that comes
Right, so
in
they
has to
could
be split
right,
evenly.
they did that, and someone was like, why don't we have a soccer team? Men's soccer is getting pretty popular. It's like, oh, we can't have one because we'll have to figure out how to get 25 more women athlete positions in the school,
Right.
right? And so we didn't have a soccer team for that reason. Um, Now it's going to be easier because those crappy soccer players in high school are just going to be women,
Yeah.
and they're going to get to play on the women's soccer team in college. It works out for everybody. No, it's a
Oh,
travesty.
man.
It's a real
And
travesty.
it's a demonstration that slippery slopes are in fact real. Of course they're
Absolutely.
real because humans, I mean,
Right.
the most profound thing anybody can ever understand about human beings is this simple phrase, monkey see, monkey do. We imitate one another. That's what every child does. You never have to teach a child to walk really. They're just imitating. You never have to really teach them to talk. They just start imitating you. They hear the sound that your face is making and they're going,
Mhm.
"Oh," and they start associating that with the
Right.
things that are going on. We're imitative by nature. Otherwise, we couldn't have civilizations. I
Is
mean, the classic example is you see a line of people and they're all looking up, and people come and they stand next to them and start looking up, and then
Yeah,
other people, or just put a line of people out there, and some people just get in it.
that's
They
right.
just get in the line. They think there must be something going on here if there's a line forming.
Yeah. No, we're in such a bad way. Gina Carano, great on Ben Shapiro for hiring her to do this, but I'm afraid there's going to be so many more people that don't get that option, right? Like if they cancel our channel, I don't feel like Ben Shapiro is going to be calling me to become a Daily Wire writer
I could
or a
see you.
video.
I could see you. I
I'll
mean, I tried
try.
to get you elected to Congress last live stream, but now I'm thinking action hero. Am I right?
Action hero.
Am I right?
It's
No,
like
but I just
broken arm in the first scene.
Jason, I just had a hilarious notion. What if Ben Shapiro decides to do the voiceover narration in the movie? You
Oh,
know how like you hear
it's all
like Sam
fast.
Elliott in the background, well, when they old Jason didn't know what to think about that. That kind of voiceover voice you'd have.
Yeah, you got Ben
You'd have
Shapiro
Ben Shapiro doing the
a
voiceover.
mile a minute
You'd
back
have to
there,
have all the
buddy.
characters be moving speeded up to keep up with the voiceover narration. So,
Yeah.
Ben, we love you. Please don't narrate
Please
your
don't
own
be the
movies.
narrator. Yeah,
Uh,
slow it down there if you do. Yeah,
Oh, man. Ben
he's
Shapiro, he'll never stop.
no, that guy's an animal. A lot of people talked about him.
Man,
Well,
he's
well,
doing a good job.
and everybody will talk about him like, "Hey, you should run for office." And he's like, maybe one day I'll get there, but at this point, why would I? And I get it. Why would
Right.
I? Why did Trump? Why would anybody want to put up with it?
Right.
Because if Ben Shapiro runs for office, they're going to call him a white supremacist Jew,
Which would be so hilarious.
right? It's that's what they're going to do to him, and they're going to do it. It doesn't matter who. If they're trying to cancel, Ted Cruz or Josh Hawley or Mike Lee or all these guys, Rand Paul. They want to cancel all these people. And soon as they start running again, it's going to be he's a racist. He's
Well,
this. He's that.
this is the problem that we have too, is that a guy with ambition and drive and a lot of ideas and strong opinions, and as a conservative, tends to want to build something.
That's
He ten
true.
he tends to say, "Well, you know what? I wanna use my talents to create something." Glenn Beck. A lot of people love Glenn Beck. A lot of people aren't that fond of him. I think he's pretty great, but, he built something. He went on and built the Blaze,
That's
and he
right.
sorta set the model in a way, and now people are saying, "Well, why can't I build
Right.
it?" I look at who's that, who Ty Tyler who's that black,
Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry. I think he should be taught in schools. Guys like him who build something. There should be a whole course in college saying, "Okay, Black Entrepreneurs 101," and you teach a half a semester of Tyler Perry and a half a semester of Berry Gordy Jr., and you say, "These are our role models." If the only role models you have are activists who somehow got themselves beaten up by cops. You have to do that in order to get to
That's right.
emulate your heroes. But I got off a little off track there. But that is such a fine value. I'm going to build something, create something of value, hire a lot of talented people so that they can buy houses and raise families. And they're and great. And if nobody wants to listen to Ben Shapiro's ideas or watch his movies, they don't have to.
That's right.
But they'll be there for those of us
I
who
think
do.
Shapiro brought, like, he moved from LA to Tennessee, right? And he brought like 75 people with him,
Yeah.
right? I mean, those are 75 people who have to now
Do you know
find a
he
place
actually
to live.
lives in Florida?
Oh yeah,
Ben
and
actually lives in Florida,
he goes to.
and he just commutes.
Must be nice. Ben's doing it right. I've never told this story before, but the Daily Wire had a job opening, and I applied for it a few years ago, and I made it past like a couple rounds, and then I had to do like these name titles for articles about stories and so on, and name one that was like
I never heard about
a
this.
conservative
You
title.
were trying to ditch me.
And one that was like a wild title, if you will, like a provocative title and so on. I had to do all these like things and test. And then one of our videos had a guy who tagged Ben Shapiro on one of our videos on Facebook back in the day. And so that was I was like, oh, so Ben's watching this video here of to see my work. And then never heard from him again. I guess I wasn't up to speed, but hey, I was just starting out, and
well,
look at me now. I'm doing live streams.
This is
I'm
what
just
happens.
like Ben Shapiro now.
This is what happens when we let the Jews in. They start hiring their own.
Somebody cut that clip out, because that's going to be how we cancel Dave right there. That's when the Jews come. Oh, my goodness.
It could be that you look a little bit like a Palestinian terrorist in some of your videos. And, I mean, I'm not the first one to notice this.
When I lived in Germany, some people would assume I was Turkish. And
because you used to talk like this.
I didn't speak German very well, but I didn't have a Turkish accent either. But somebody like I had one German guy come to me, and he called me like a derogatory term for a Turkish guy. I think Oslak was the term. I don't know if I can say that or not. The A word, I'll say. No, he was like Oslak. He like that, like that's like saying something like questioning me if am I this, and I was like, oh, I'm an American, and he was like, oh, but he still wasn't happy about it. He still wasn't happy that I wasn't.
You just looked like an Oslak.
Yeah, and so I was like, no. But yeah, no, I've gotten that before.
It reminds me of when I would go into the Indian guys in LA. For many, many years, I would go into a 7-Eleven wherever I was working all over the LA Valley. I kind of knew them all because I'd worked all over the place, and I'd go in and I'd get myself a hot dog and fill my Diet Coke. This is what you saw, the giant tankard I have here. Fill up my big gulp, and then that would get me. I go back to work and I get a little caffeine in me and have the guts to make it through the rest of the day. But on more than one occasion, I'd go in, and one of the Indian guys or Pakistani guys working behind the counter would try to talk to me in Spanish. They'd be kind of learning Spanish, and they saw the paint clothes, and they connected that there's no all the guys in paint clothes speak Spanish,
right? You're just a
and so they had
Hispanic, right?
Yeah, I'm not even sure they were even thinking of it in terms of racial as much as cultural. They think, oh, all the guys who do work seem to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And so they would say mucho trabajo, like I go, yeah, mucho trabajo,
blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
No español.
My Spanish is not very good. No. I just realized.
I would go, oh no, my friend.
Yeah. Devin, thanks for pointing it out. I had went over back to the tweet, and then I left it on the tweet for a few minutes there. We were just talking with the picture of the tweet up. So thanks for reminding me. This is how good we are at this. We're going to get better, I promise. Let me
Also, when the tweet's up, you can't see us?
Yeah, it keeps the whole screen. So
oh, sorry for that. Was like for 20 minutes.
It was like 15 minutes or 10 minutes. I don't know. I apologize for that, but
we are idiots. How many people have said it?
I don't know.
Probably
Probably
a million.
A lot. Yeah. Yay, back to the screen. I'm sorry about that. But let me say thanks, Tom, just Tom, whatever your name is. Thank you, sir. And Devin for pointing that out. Thank you. And Jay Z, you keep coming through like a
Oh, politics.
champion.
What we'll do in the future, we have one of those little. We should have one of those little timers. You put the thing in, you hit it like the chess players in Central
And then I
Park.
can
Click.
check if we're still if we're,
Yeah, that it goes off in a minute or something like that.
hey, let's flip a script here. I want to ask you guys about here in Los Angeles. There's this thing they're pushing now, and it's called hazard pay, right? And it's not a company doing it, which is great if companies can afford to do
Hero
that.
pay.
Hero pay, but basically you got city ordinances coming out now that these grocery store workers need to get $4 an hour more. Um, and they're saying that because they've been out there with a job and in the face of coronavirus and all this time. I wonder what you guys think about it, because forcing them to pay more without taking any into consideration what that store is making, how much profit it
Right.
has. I mean, if you look at $4 an hour for that's $32 a day for a full-time
Well,
worker.
$4
That's
an hour
106.
is what some of the municipalities have done.
Right.
That's what Long Beach started with.
Right.
But LA has been pushing $5 an hour
So
extra.
okay, so $40 extra a day for a full-time worker. Okay, that's 40 times, that's $200 a week, right? So then you multiply that by how many people work at a big grocery store? 25, 30 people.
Yeah.
You start multiplying that. Now you're starting getting around to $23,000 a month more for labor.
Right.
I mean, and they're just going to force that on you and say, "No, take it. You have to do it."
Right. And these are the people who, through the whole pandemic, have at least been employed while they were shutting down all the mom and pops.
That's a good point.
And so the only people who have, and yeah, they've worked hard and they have, I guess, taken some risks. Although there have not been any outbreaks, as I covered for a long time during COVID, I kept going in and asking in all my local stores, has there been an outbreak here? Nope, we're all good. And but they were always employed, and many of them got a lot of overtime because they'd
Right.
have to go inside in the store in the middle of the night and wash counters and things like that.
Right.
So
And
they were
the people at
right.
home are supposed to be happy with this
Yeah,
now.
so now
Like,
so now who is going to pay? Because I used to work in a when I was young, I worked as a box boy in a store, and I happened to know the owner pretty well, well enough that I went to his house a couple times. He kind of took me under his wing. And he was an independent grocer. He has a chain in LA called Super A. And I don't know how many of them are. Yeah, I think he got up to about 10 stores and
never heard
just
of it.
kind of stagnated. There's still a few out there. But he told me that the supermarket profit margin is between 1 and 3 cents per item.
It's very small.
Yes,
It's very
and
small, no doubt
there
about
might
it.
be a few items that get a little bit more, and some that are just what they call loss leaders, where they make no money at all. They're just trying to keep you on that aisle until you buy something that does.
Right.
And so you really have to do volume, and you're really walking that line all the time. That if you add that extra dollars on, there goes the profit. So
Right.
what do? They raise prices. They cannot not raise prices. They're going to have to raise prices. And who will get hit with those raised prices? The people who did lose their
The people who
jobs.
have no money, right? That are still,
Yes.
yeah. That's a good point. Um, I think the ones in Long Beach, two stores are gonna
Two
close.
stores, Kroger stores.
They're gonna
They're
close down, and
yeah.
everybody attacks them from the left, saying, "But Kroger, this big huge company made X amount of dollars this year, like billions or millions of dollars, hundreds of millions." But it doesn't matter. Why would this store be open if it's not going to make any money? If it's going to lose money,
Right.
they're not going to leave it open. They're in the business of making money, and they make it, like you say, on small margins.
Right. And they're thinking we're going to have to raise prices across all of our stores in order to make up for this, and they don't want to do that. And maybe they could absorb that, but this is what you keep finding with on the left. They're really, really good at spending other people's money, as
Very
we
good.
know, but they're really good at imagining the moral basis for other people's either owning something or spending something or opting not to spend it. They're very good at locating what the moral thread is that's running through this and saying, look at this. They're just closing these stores out of revenge,
Yeah.
you know?
I had a
Why did they keep them open all the time? Was that out of revenge, or
I
was that
knew
out of some kind of, you're calling it hero pay? So now they're all those people that are
now they're
gonna
not
lose
heroes.
those jobs. Now those heroes that work in that store are gonna lose their jobs. Thank you. Oh, okay, because they didn't get enough hero pay.
Yeah. I had a friend from I made a friend, an acquaintance. I didn't know her really well, but she is from Venezuela. She had moved here after Maduro or what's his name, the one before took control, and they made a law that was like, "Oh, if you have two houses, well, choose the one you want to live in because the other one's got to go to somebody else who doesn't have a house. That's not fair."
Yes,
And she was like, and that's when my family was like, "We got to go." And then
right.
they immigrated to the United States. Um, that's the same mentality. They're saying it's not fair that these people are rich. They're saying this is not fair. These people are working like this, and this Kroger company has so much money. They have to pay more. Period. And it's the same with the minimum wage. You know, Biden wants to raise it to $15 an hour. That's the same thing. There's going to be all kinds of people go like, well, you know what? We don't need a greeter anymore at Walmart. You know what? We don't need this extra person. You know what? We're going to fire this
Right.
guy who's not that good. Dave, you're better. So now you have to do his job as well because the position pays $15 an hour. You got to cover a lot more work
Exactly, which
now.
is
I
how it
mean,
always happens.
absolutely.
You know, someplace like Walmart, and Kroger's, as a matter of fact, Kroger's hires mentally challenged people to do box boy duties. You know, and this and it they become like fixtures in the store, and everyone's nice to them, and it's a good thing. It gets us used to dealing with people who, a little bit mentally retarded. So now, of course, they're gonna be laid off if
Right.
this expands. So this is just one of those refusal to look at it from another angle other than the one that makes you feel personally virtuous at a moment in time. So you force other people to go through this whole rigmarole so that you can feel virtuous for having forced them to do so.
I think what I hate the most about it is they went from 15 to 20 on a lot of the talking points. Um, they never provide any reason why those numbers were chosen. They never say $15 an hour is this number because of this reason because they can't because if you live in where I'm from, a place called in Kentucky, a small little place about 7,000 people, if you live there, you get a $10 an hour job. It's not a bad starting. It's a pretty decent job to start off.
Right.
If you come out here and you work for $10 an hour, you go like I got to find something else. So if the argument is about minimum wage and what we should do, it should be a local issue. It should not be a national issue, and it's
Always.
going to destroy a lot of places and a lot of the red states that are not New York or that are not San Francisco. It's going to destroy those
Right.
places big time.
Well, yeah, you say, okay, we're going to have a $15 minimum wage because where you live, you little blue person, where you live, it's really expensive because the blue people who vote Democrat tend to grab up all the land in places like Los Angeles and San Francisco and Seattle and Portland, places that are beautiful places to live with good weather. And then all these people come in there trying to get famous or whatever, and rents go way, way up. And then they see their person down there working at Trader Joe's and they think, well, that person deserves $20 an hour. How do they possibly afford the rent at my rental property that I've bought to rent out so that I can amass a fortune?
Right.
So out of the kindness of my heart, I'm going to promote a national minimum wage that'll allow them to still barely make the rent at my rental property, while now I've just priced them out of the market in all the places in Iowa and Wichita,
That's right.
Kansas, and places like that where rents are a third as much. And so the only way to do it is say, okay, let the municipalities decide if you're even going to do a minimum wage.
Oh, Trump acquitted. Your
Trump
reaction to talk
acquitted.
about this, guys? Trump acquitted. I don't know. Is that true? Help us out here? I'm going to try to look it up. If Trump,
Oh, we need some rock music.
I know, right? Yeah, Dave Jason, your reaction to this, guys? Trump was acquitted, not guilty. Please, Dave Jason. Awesome. Let's Here we go. We got some rock music. Trump acquitted a second time.
Last thing you want to see is me dancing.
I know. I had to turn off the music for that reason. No, I mean,
Jazz
it's
hands.
it's no it's no surprise if you guys are right, and I don't see why you wouldn't be. It's no surprise that Trump's been acquitted. Um, we knew it from the start that there wasn't they didn't have the numbers, and after yesterday's smackdown, the lawyers played it proved that you can't say let's fight and that's incitement. You can't play half a comment and then say, "Oh, see, he's a racist." And they proved all that, but I'm sure the vote, and I haven't looked it up, maybe excuse me, maybe he's going to look it up right now. I'm sure the vote was still 55 to 45 or something like
Well,
that.
I'm not seeing any. Okay, wait. Donald Trump acquitted by Senate in his unprecedented second impeachment trial.
Unprecedented. They got to put that in there.
He'll come out and go, "Hey, it was the best impeachment ever, and I'm the only president. I'm number one in terms of amount of impeachments that I have survived. So thank you all very
No one
much.
survives more more
It's
impeachments than I
it's so I want to
have."
say all the people, they're very special, special people."
What was the vote? Do you guys have it? Is it 55-45, 56, 57-43? Wow. I'm
All
surprised.
right,
A couple more.
57 to 43. Look at that.
So you had Mitt Romney, no doubt, maybe Susan Collins, maybe the lady from Alaska. Um, you have Liz Cheney. No, is she a senator or is she a representative? I think
I
she's a
don't.
representative.
I.
7 rhinos. Yeah. It's it's sad that it's so partisan that these guys were trying to impeach Trump from the very first day. Raskin, the lead prosecutor on the very first day talked about of Trump's presidency, talked about impeaching him. And he
Yeah.
finally gets to try to do it after he's out of office, and
It,
it's absurd to think that they proved anything because they didn't, but it's absurd to think that they're even doing it after he's out of office. Like I said, if he committed a crime, charge him with a crime.
yeah. That. What are you gonna say about this stuff?
Yeah, it's no, I mean
It's
it's
just nothing but theater. This is all theater, and I've been saying for a long time, it's like the Democrats they're like a serial killer that's trying to get caught. They
mhm.
keep going into this. They they shined a light on Ukraine for the longest time, knowing that just one notch over in the reality of what Ukraine is sat Joe Biden, and his corrupt son. I mean, it was right. It's like right there. Okay, we're going to shine it right on the table that contains a charge of Donald Trump colluding. I mean, with an inappropriate phone call to the Ukrainian president, and right next to it, in somewhat shadows, is this real scandal
Right,
that involves our side. And
right.
they they put that into our consciousness for
I
a
I
year.
feel like the reason they do that, the reason they project so much, or they have this mindset. They go, "Do you think people will believe that?" And they go, "Yeah, they'll believe that because it's happening." Because they know it's happening because they're doing these things.
Yeah.
They know that Joe Biden and these lifetime politicians are getting rich off of back deals, and let's send $10 billion to for this country to
So
this.
they just assume
So
the other
some of it
side
slowly
certainly
comes
must
back,
be.
and I'm sure there are plenty of rhinos and plenty of Republicans that have gotten rich, like Mitch McConnell and so on. Right? I'm sure that's the case, but to get Trump, who had no proof of that, wasn't a politician forever, and then on day one they want to say he's going to make his family rich. Blah. Like you haven't even given him a chance.
Yeah.
But like I've said several times, this is not just about Trump. This is about any outsider. This is about shaming all the congressmen, all the senators who voted to acquit him. You're going to hear all these people say how terrible they are. They're just as guilty as Trump. They're going to say that people like our channel, we're pushing this Nazi propaganda for Trump. It's going to be about getting all of us and keep that divide going, because if they can keep us divided, then they get to dismiss us. And that's the cancel culture. That's all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. Um, I don't know how they see the future. This is the thing. I don't know how you see the future. It's like You know, I tell young people, look, when you start, like right now, you're happy to hold hands and kiss. Make that last as long as you possibly can, because then you'll move up to like feeling her up, and you'll never be able to feel the same way about holding her hand again.
Oh,
You
wow,
know
that's
what
a
I mean?
good I never thought of it that
These
way.
are, if you're when you're moving through a progression of things, make each one last as long as possible, because when you finally get to sex, it doesn't go any further. It ends there. The experiential line ends at a given point, and beyond that, there's no place to go except into kinky craziness. And so,
And that's where
if
we are
so
politically
right,
right now.
if
We are in
Democrats
kinky
want, yeah,
craziness.
so if Democrats, they set out to change the culture, you'd think they'd do it really slowly so they'd have stuff to keep changing, because changing is what they're addicted
And
to.
not make any
But
mistakes,
but
like
it started going faster and faster and faster like a snowball down a
right.
hill, and it's gathered up all the things that are sane that could be changed. All the things that could be with some sanity changed, right?
That's
There
one of
were
the
some things to change.
That's one
It's
of the best analogies
Yeah.
ever. They've gone so far now that they're that couple that wakes up the next day and they go like, "Well, let's not do that again." That
Exactly.
that was a little out there. I
There's
mean,
drop cloths and like plastic sheeting all over the place. It's like
oh
in
no,
Fight
that's
Club
too
where they
much.
open the door and she's in there. He's got the rubber glove on. It's like, okay, don't even tell me what happened in that room.
No, this
But
is where we are politically. We're so
they're
far out there.
beyond they've gone so far beyond the simple
Oh,
things that needed to be changed, and they can't stop. So it has to keep getting crazier and crazier. And we're already at that point with the making with trying to put people of different sexual orientation as winners in the oppression Olympics, or
mhm,
the victim Olympics. And now it's gotten to the place where you start putting attention on people, and they start doing crazier and crazier things,
that's right.
because they want to be the hero of the story too. And so now you got guys knocking out women in the ring, and you got power lifters who are clearly men, and there's women in the back row going, "Hey, I'm strong for a chick."
Clearly, man, no doubt about it. And some of these people still have all their parts. It's not like they.
Because Jason, it's how you identify.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Wow.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Don't you dare gender me before we end up here.
I know. Is it Zer or Z?
Well, we should just
I'm
read
not
it. We
sure.
should just read a few
Well,
comments. We're
here
gonna
we
just allow
let's
you guys to say some stuff before we close out.
here.
So
I got
comment away, and don't feel like you have to give a super chat.
yeah. So Tom came in again. He said, "People don't know the history of the rise of the Third Reich, while they live through the rise of the Fourth. Gina just happens to be educated in this part of history, and the Fourth is very afraid of this." I believe that's
Right.
pretty
Good.
much dead on. That's a great
Dead on.
comment.
Absolutely.
And then we got Signor Nasuno. And I'm butchering these names, I'm sure. Greetings from Chicago, Murder City. Really appreciate you guys and your honesty. Thank you for being my oh, there it goes. It's a little slow because thank you for being here. Thank you. And Raphael, thank you for your donation. I can't even see it on here. Oh wow. If that's Raphael there, $200. I don't know. No, I think it's $20. Whatever it is, you guys have been done better than we can think of. Let's see some other comments. Let's see. No more romancing Fauci, Gates, and Cuomo. That's a great thing. You got Cuomo that just come out recently. You heard about that, right? And we won't get too deep in here because we're already past an hour.
Where they hid fully half
That's right.
of the
They were
deaths.
afraid of getting a federal investigation, so they hid deaths from his that were really from his policies. And then remember, Fauci said New York did it right, and they talked about how great he was doing over there. Trump sent all the help over there with the hospital ships and so on, all the stuff he needed, and then he didn't use most of it, and then he hides this information. And if you want to talk about a real scandal, that's up there.
Right, and of course, that woman came out, and it was on a conference call, and what she was doing, she brought it up because she was apologizing to the politicians of New York for having withheld the information from them.
Right, the
So
Democrat. She's
yeah, the
apologizing to the
Democrat.
Democrat.
Yeah, she says, "Oh, I'm sure this is going to put you. I'm sorry to put you in a tough spot with the Republicans who will use this as, well, that's a separate issue, people using this as fodder for political warfare.
Yeah.
You should be apologizing to the people who who didn't know you were putting their loved ones in such danger.
That's right. But they did know it because some of them took their parents out of danger.
And this is when they had that big ship in the harbor with
That's
nobody
right.
on it.
Nobody
And
on
what
it.
was that other place? The something center?
They
Was it Jacob Javits Center? Was that the?
Yeah, I think so. They built the makeshift hospital.
Yeah, and they never filled those things up, and
Right.
so they
And
had
and
beds.
just let these people go die. And we've talked a lot about the virus on this channel. I had the virus, by the way, if some of y'all don't know. But the people that we should have protected were the vulnerable, were those people, and they didn't do that, and then they got treated as heroes. It's really crazy. By the way, I just want to fix something. I can see my screen now. Rafael Maduno, thank you for all you do, gentlemen. That's his comment. Thank you.
I think his name's really Maduro.
No, it's
I
not.
think you could hide by changing one letter.
He can't.
I can't even.
He can't see it.
I can see that there's some red and orange up there.
Oh man,
My eyes aren't bad, but my eyes don't read letters, things that are lit. That are lit, I can't read.
So that's not
well.
that's not
From
bad
this
eyes.
distance.
That's not bad eyes. No,
From this
it is kind
distance,
of
I
far.
can't.
It's kind of small. You're 5 feet away from my computer screen, although
Yeah.
it is quite large.
Well, there's a button on here. It's marked "old person" button, and
Oh.
it makes the text really, really big.
They come in one word at a time. It's hard to
Just
read.
one
but-
word on the
but
screen at
you
a
see it.
time.
No, let's see. Let's read a couple more here before we get out of here, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. Recall Romney. He's getting kickbacks. I don't
Yeah,
doubt Romney
read a
got
few more
rich.
comments.
Cancel Joe Biden. Let's get that trending. I'd say I identify as a Christian. Hard to be one in public nowadays, it seems. Yeah, that's true. Probably, I guess someone's commenting on what we said, but I don't know what that is. 2 masks.
Well, we were talking about you identifying as a female,
Oh yeah,
so you could win the
probably.
weightlifting
2
competition.
masks. that's. I almost thought about starting this one with like 10 masks on, and
It
then
just,
like,
like,
hold on a second,
Just
and
peel
just like
them off.
peel them off. Like this is really ridiculous. The 2
Be
masks.
like the
thing.
guys that ride Baja and they have like 6 windshields and it gets filled with mud.
They
They
pull
tear
it.
one off,
That's right. Like every 30 seconds, tear off a mask so
Yeah.
you're not getting anything. Let's see. Oh yeah, here's Control Plus. That makes the screen bigger, but we got other things on the screen, so we can't really do that. Frody just went live with an AMA for your information, chat team. I don't know who Frody is. Do you know who Frody is?
I don't know.
Must be popular. Romney supported Lincoln Project.
Frody
That's true.
Baggins?
Frodo, I think that's Frodo. But Romney supported the Lincoln Project, and they're having all kinds of problems now. The Lincoln Project, there's sex
Little
scandal,
perv action going on in there.
People are
God, don't
resigning, and
don't get people talking, on the whole pedo thing.
man,
Everybody's a pedo now.
yeah, Recall Nation. The Bible said God's people would be persecuted in the last days. What brand is that beautiful green Strat style guitar?
That is an LTD,
Yep.
which is made by ESP, isn't it?
Yep, he got it right. He said ESP ST 203. I think it's a 213.
Yeah, let's show it. Hang on.
I think it's a 213, John Pearson, but
Here you go.
I'm actually not that good of a guitar player.
It's a really nice.
Nice.
There's the headstock.
Nice story. I was working at this studio in Van Nuys, a music studio, and I had this guitar player. I was wanting to get that guitar set up. I was so naive that it wasn't that long before that I didn't realize people set up their guitars. I thought you just bought them and they just played however they played and they were good.
Right.
So he said, "Oh, you can go to my guy. He's really expensive." And I think it was like $200 to get it set up, which is kind of expensive for like a $400 guitar.
Right.
But it was like the guy who set up all of Prince's guitars and all these famous people. When I got it back,
It was shaped like this.
I was like,
big
"Wha-"
thing. Had like a.
I was like, wow, I got better. I instantly was a little bit better at guitar, but I'm still not that good at guitar. But
There's a lot to a good setup for you guitar players out there. I have mine back in the shop again. I took it in to get it set up, and the guy did a really good job, except for the one thing I was there specifically for which was this nasty buzz I was getting. Some of you guys heard that on my other channel. It was this really high pitched, and it's one of the frets is worn down, and so the one next to it, there's a little gulf in it there, and then one next to it catches the string and makes this awful noise. He didn't fix that, so it's back in there for another.
Well, he didn't charge you again, did he?
Oh, well, he may think he's going to.
But yeah, if you don't fix the thing, then
But
then
so I've been without that guitar. I was without the guitar for a week, and now I've been without it again for a week.
you got backup guitars.
I do, but that's the one I like.
I hear you on that.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how to say the first name. Ralph Pierre wrote, "Political correctness is not the language of a free people.
This is true.
It's the language of people who want to control you. There's no doubt about that."
Right. These are word traps that are set up specifically to catch people. And the reason that the left really has encouraged the use of the N-word so much, rather than just saying, hey, we like hip hop. If we could just get people to drop the N-word, we would have a valid cultural expression. No, they didn't. They rewarded the N-word because now you got people saying the N-word who are black. And then some poor white guy comes along and he goes, "Oh, I guess this must be okay."
Right.
Don't you have a story about that?
Well, I do have a story about that. I was in college. I was on the baseball team, and some of the guys we were all there playing like Xbox or whatever it was at the time, maybe Sega. I don't even know what it was now, but they're playing a rap song, and I repeat a couple words from the rap song, and
And one of them
and
was?
two guys leave, and the guy that I'm there with, he's like, "Hey man, the football guys, they're gonna mess you up right now." And I'm all like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "You totally used the N word." And I was like, "When? What did I say?" And I'm like freaking out, thinking like I must have insulted someone. And he's like, "No, you said it." And I was just like, "Yeah, everybody knows this song." And he's like, "No, you can't say it." And that was my
Right.
introduction. I came from a predominantly white town,
You have to learn to
right?
sing the rap song along, and then
Yeah,
every time you get to the word, you have to go beep and then move on. So you got to learn to make that. So you rap it along and
right,
everything's going. You're throwing gang signs, and all of a sudden, beep, beep,
right.
beep, 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 beep.
I was, I,
It's a trap.
that's right.
It's a trap being set for you to screw up so that the victim Olympics can go on making points off of you.
When you absolutely did not do anything remotely close to racist.
Not a bit. And then they take it to, you remember Sargon of Akkad. Carl Benjamin is his name. He had a big YouTube channel, and he's a guy from Britain, super smart guy, conservative. Now he got canceled from Patreon, and that's what prompted Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson to leave Patreon.
Mm,
They were doing it in protest for Patreon having canceled the Patreon account of Carl Benjamin, known as Sargon of Akkad to you gamers. But he said the N word in some sort of way where he was referring to the word,
yeah.
just as that guy from the New York Times did, right? He was referring to the
He
word.
wasn't using it any kind of way.
Yes.
Right. And I want to thank Erica Watkins for coming in. Thank you so much. You're a
Oh, we know
sweetheart.
her.
Do
Hey,
we?
Erica.
Do we?
Yeah, I know Erica.
Oh, I don't know
Shout
Erica.
out to Erica.
No, I think that country star recently got in trouble for using the N word as well. And basically, he's drunk. He's got the best selling album. He's brand new country guy, best selling album. He's just hit the big time. He goes and parties and gets all hammered one night. He's coming home. His neighbors are filming him. And he says, like, "Oh, get that N word back to the house," or whatever, talking about one of his friends. They're all white guys, but he uses it just like he's heard 1,000 times before, and he's drunk and he's just being stupid. He's like,
And it was a
and then,
joke.
right?
He's just
But he
joking.
wasn't using it derogatory at all. He was using it the same way he's heard so many times,
Right.
and boom, dropped by his label, dropped
That
out of
this is
it's
this is the I mean,
it,
they've been doing this a long time, and we really have to we and really, if it comes right down to it, I would think that 80% of why Donald Trump was the guy that we sent to do our bidding in Washington wasn't even about immigration as much as it was about him standing up to political correctness.
There's no doubt about
He
that.
was the one guy that was willing to say something and not back down and not apologize and just say what he wanted to say. And man, we all felt free for 4 years. We
Right.
felt like, okay, we got somebody out in front of us who's taking some of the heavy fire. And and it created a giant movement of unapologetic conservatives. At the time, when he came in, I would go round and round trying to kind of hint to people that I might so that I could test the waters in out here in LA where you really do get canceled from your whole friend group. You just don't get invited to the parties. I don't anymore, but I would test the waters and I kind of hint and say how find out how radical people are and maybe okay, I'll never mention my politics to them.
Right.
Now, I'm very open about it. I'm
I,
very open about it. Just tell people I'm a conservative.
yeah. I think
It's their problem
the
now.
the difference between me and you is I didn't grow up in this in California, so I never ever had a thought
You don't
like
and you don't have any roots
right.
in
So
a
I
world that
never
would
had a
demand it.
thought. I grew up in the place when on all the stores it said, and they probably had that here before too. You know, we have the right to refuse anyone service for any reason. Like we had people with that on their
We
wall.
used to have that here
Right.
too.
Right. And so probably my Kentucky when I was a kid was more like when you were a kid or
Yes.
whatever because it's a few years
Right,
difference, right?
right.
But
It took a while
um
to destroy Kentucky.
I never thought twice about not being able to say anything I wanted to say and everybody knows when you're trying to be a jerk. Everybody knows when you're not trying to be a jerk, when you're trying to say something funny and so on.
Yeah.
And no, the political correctness is I wish we could have destroyed it, but it's never going away. And I fear we're going to end up being like Ben Shapiro says sometimes is like we're headed to a place where it's like, oh, Republicans they go to this store, they watch these movies, they do this stuff. The Democrats do this stuff. They hang out over here and so on. And we're going to be like you don't use Walmart, you go to this store. You don't use Target, you go to. We're going to split up eventually if we continue. And he says he doesn't think it can ever be any other way by what he sees now.
Yeah, well, hopefully, because there's only so many things that humans can do before you get into the absolutely ridiculous, and they are already in the absolutely ridiculous
The
on
kinky
so
crazy.
many fronts that hopefully in a few more years, particularly with the memory of Donald Trump there with a rough-hewn guy that said whatever he wanted to say, and more people will realize that, yeah, we were after him the whole time, and we never gave him a chance, and jobs were up, and now jobs are down. Gas prices were down, and now gas prices are up. You know, now we have it. You know, we were going to talk about the sort of perfect storm, but we won't get into this. But the sort of perfect storm of you've got Joe Biden. He's firing people from good, decent blue collar jobs while loosening the uh, restrictions at the border and basically disempowering ICE. ICE is being disempowered completely, and we'll talk about that next week. Um, but he's creating this perfect storm of unemployment.
That's right.
There's going to be this unemployment, including with the minimum wage,
And who's he
which
going
is
to
going to
blame?
national minimum wage is gonna knock 1.4 million people out of work, and they're the same jobs that the Mexicans and Hondurans and Guatemalans, God bless them, are coming in the country hoping to get.
Yeah.
And
Who's he going to blame?
he's going to
Who are they going to say? They're going to say, well, Donald Trump made all these mistakes when he was president, and we're
right.
trying to fix that now. The jobs we lost this last year, that's because he mishandled the coronavirus.
Right.
The jobs we lost is because, he only talked about manufacturing. He never really did anything about it. That's the kind of stuff we're going to hear, and it's going to and then they do this thing. They're going to take that first year of jobs that they lose, or the first 2 years, and then when it starts going back, they're gonna negate those ones they lost, and then start counting the new ones and say he saw this many new jobs being built, and never those ones that he took away.
They have this theory that the Obama economy was an 8-year plan of doing nothing that suddenly exploded when he left it. See, that's the fruits of the planning that this genius Barack
That's
Obama put
right.
in, as if economies work that way.
Yeah.
They go into it's like it's like the story they told us about global warming when we're 17 years and the ocean hasn't risen and there's no noticeable warming. They said, well, we figured it out. It's been stored in the deep, deep ocean. The heat all went down there like a giant heat bubble, and now it's going to come. It's like
Yeah.
what? That's the way they think economies work, like a giant heat bubble hiding in the deepest, darkest oceans.
Well,
And now this will be when it goes down. They'll go. Finally, the Trump economy kicked into gear, and finally, it managed to kill the Obama economy that Trump took credit for
that's
4 years.
That's
Right?
right. We got to run.
It's a heat bubble.
Joanna Hildreth, thank you for your donation and your super chat, and we appreciate you just like you're saying you appreciate us. Um, this is a new thing. We're gonna get better and better at this. I came home from work this morning, I should say, about 9, and I figured out how to do all this stuff before this show, which we didn't do a great job on leaving that
We didn't know how to
tweet up
screen
for a
share
while,
before.
but we're figuring it out. We're gonna start being able to put some videos up and all that kind of stuff. But thanks for being here with us, and yeah, Dave.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we're humbled to have y'all tune into our simple, ordinary lives, and if only we could do it in return. If only we could get to know you guys as well as you've got to
Well,
know
I've
us.
known some
I,
of these guys.
I will come out and personally visit you as soon as I find my right motorhome. I
That's
looked at
right.
2 of them yesterday. The lazy days of my dreams has not yet been located, but I looked at 2 of them yesterday, but neither one was quite the right coach for me.
Well,
But
guys,
soon I'll be out on the road and I'll be able to come and hang out and talk and have that beer with you that we've been talking about.
here's our music. Putting this on. That signifies the end
All
of,
right,
of what
so
we're doing here.
congratulations to President Trump.
Yeah. Thanks again for coming. And don't forget, if you want some merchandise, we got our Teespring. It's the links in the description. You can always go there, get a shirt, get a coffee mug. One day we'll make some new stuff there. I haven't been there for a while.
Yeah,
make anything.
yeah.
It's
We are
tough.
we
We're
are like
busy.
the worst merchants.
Jimmy Rowe coming at the end there. Appreciate that, Jimmy.
Thanks, brother.
All right, guys.
All right, brothers and sisters.
We'll talk to
see
you guys
soon.
later.